Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to another episode of The Fishing Teacher, and thanks for checking out today's video and spending some time with me today. Always grateful for that. And guys, today we're going to be talking about what I think are three of the top lures to fish in the month of March. We're getting up on March just a few days from now, and I'm going to show you what my three favorite lures are, or three of my favorite lures. Give you guys some sort of tips and advice, the conditions they work under, and when you want to throw them. I think it's going to add up to some good fish for you guys over the next month. Also, guys, big thank you out there to everybody that's been hitting the subscribe button here to The Fishing Teacher. I'd like to invite you to do so if you haven't. Right now, we've got about only half of the people that watch the videos are subscribed to The Fishing Teacher. So it's really a good way to support the channel if you'd like to hit that. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, there's when you're talking about the best lures for one particular month, I know a lot of it has to do with what part of the country that you're in and the type of lake that you're fishing. Because if you guys fish Lake Okeechobee, it's going to be a lot different than if you fish, Lake of the Ozarks here in Missouri. So I know that, you can't, talk about the top three lures as far as covering every lake out there. But I want to specifically talk about typical man-made impoundment. Guys that, that's what most people fish are man-made impoundments, sort of in the mid-south to mid-north to mid part of the country. So I got three of them here I'm going to talk about that I really like in the month of March, and I'll sort of describe the scenario for that. And also, guys, I will put, I'll link all of the baits I talk about into my description here. And if you guys want to use my Tackle Warehouse link to pick some of these up, that's a good way to support the channel too. So much appreciated. Okay, guys, my first favorite March lure is just an old school jig, guys. Just some type of a full-size jig and chunk in there. Now, the color depends completely on the water clarity. If the water visibility is like under 1.5 feet, I'm usually going to black or black and blue. If it's like 2 to 4 foot visibility, I like some type of a brown jig like this. And if it's greater than 4 foot in visibility, usually I go to some type of a green pumpkin or watermelon color out there. But the main thing, guys, is just to use the larger full-size jig. And I usually like it in either a 5/8 or a 1/2 ounce size is my favorite. Now, the type of areas that this works good in March, and all these baits that we're talking about specifically, are the pre-spawn staging areas. So the area that I like to fish the jig in are steeper rocky banks that drop off into deeper water. Anything on a steep bank, specifically if it's located in a major creek arm. One of my favorite ways, guys, is like I'll go in to like a big creek arm, and if there's any bluffs in there, I'll take that jig and I'll just cast it and pitch it to the bluffs and try to work it anywhere between 3 to 15 foot of water, depending upon the clarity. But the main thing is you want to stay on your steepest banks for the jig in the month of March out there. Towards the end of March, if it's getting a little bit warmer, I'll move up a little bit shallower and I'll get to some flatter banks and sort of start targeting those areas those fish are getting ready to spawn in. Now, my second favorite one, guys, is a spinnerbait. Spinnerbait in the month of March is deadly. In fact, I've probably caught more big fish on a spinnerbait in the month of March than any lure out there. And I'm slow rolling the spinnerbait during that time of year. Really, and a lot of it just depends, again, on the type of lake that you have. But if you're in a man-made impoundment, one of my favorite ways to, fish this big spinnerbait or any type of a spinnerbait is to slow roll it around any type of lay down trees or stumps or next to docks. That's a really good place to do it. Ideally, if you gave me one perfect scenario for slow rolling a spinnerbait, again, I would be focusing in the creek arms, and I'd get up there with the jig on the steeper banks. But instead of focusing just on the rock, I would look for any type of lay down wood. If you got the best scenario, guys, if you got a steep bank, like a 45 to 60 degree angle bank with a lay down tree that fell into the water, take a spinnerbait and slow roll it off the deeper ends of that tree. That's a really good way to catch big ones on it. Another good way to catch big ones on a spinnerbait in March, it's really easy, is slow rolling it down riprap. Now, what I like to do with that is I'll get my boat, quite a ways off the riprap, and I'll throw it to the riprap. I'll try to put my boat in like anywhere between, say, 10 to 20 foot of water, throw it up to the riprap, and when I'm throwing it up there, I'm quite a ways from it, maybe 50, 60 foot away from the riprap, and I just slow roll it down that drop of the riprap. And if I feel like I'm coming up too high off the bottom, I'll just let some line out and let it hit the bottom. But I'm really trying to keep it within a foot or so off the bottom. Guys, in March, I have caught some big ones, slow rolling spinnerbaits off riprap. I almost won a Bassmaster Invitational at Lake Eufaula in Alabama doing that one time. And finally, guys, my third favorite March lure is the Magdraft. This is without a doubt my favorite swim bait. March is a great time of year to fish it. It's a bait that catches fish in all phases of the springtime. It'll catch fish in pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn, but in the pre-spawn period of March is when I really catch my biggest fish on it. Now, the structures are a little bit different for the Magdraft versus the other two, because for the Magdraft, I'm focusing specifically on points. I don't care if they're flat points or steep points or main lake or creek or whatever. I'm just running and gunning points. And I usually just get the boat out there in anywhere between 10 to 25 foot of water, depending upon the clarity. If the water visibility is a little bit more off colored, I'm throwing it right to the banks, keeping it, in less than 5 foot of water. But if I have a scenario where that water visibility is like 5 or 6 foot clarity, I may be out in 25 or 30 foot of water, casting into the bank and just slow rolling it down 5 to 15 feet under the water. So the main thing is I want to keep this thing sort of in mid water column. So in other words, if I'm fishing 4 foot of water, I try to keep this thing 2 foot under the water. If I'm fishing in 20 foot of water, I try to keep it in 10 foot of water. And I'll just count it down. It's a slow sinking bait. Count it down, just a slow, steady retrieve, and like that, letting that big tail just wag like that back and forth. But anyway, guys, those are 3 really good March lures to catch big ones on. There's other baits that you can catch more fish on, but a jig, a spinnerbait, and a big swim bait like this Magdraft will get you some good bites in March. So again, guys, I'll link all this in the description of the video if you want to pick up some, and I hope it helps you guys catch some good fish. We'll talk later.